You ever finish a game and just sit there, staring at the credits? Not because you're waiting for a post-credits scene, but because something stuck with you. Maybe it was the ending, maybe it was the music, maybe it was just vibes, that strange mix of melancholy and satisfaction that only games can deliver. And you want to talk about it, but who do you tell? Maybe you drop a few thoughts into Discord server, maybe you rant to a friend who hasn't even played it, but then the feeling kind of fades, it dissolves. It becomes just another moment in the sea of thoughts that you have every day. Now, imagine if instead you hit record. Just your voice, some gameplay, nothing fancy. And you said what's the game meant to you. That's what this video is about. Not about going viral, not about becoming a YouTuber. It's about turning your love for games into something that lives outside your head. Something real, something that gives back. Because every gamer, yeah, you including, my dear viewer, should have a YouTube channel, or a blog, or any other way how to give back to community. And here's why. There is this weird thing that happens when we talk about games. We treat them like they're just activities, something you do, like mowing the lawn or folding laundry. You hear it all the time. It's just a game, man. But you know, both me and you know that's not true. Games talk to us, not in the way books or movies do. Those tell you something and you receive it. But games invite you to the space where you can answer back. They give you tools, choices, mechanics, systems, and you can interact with them in ways that make you happy. That's already a conversation, the quiet kind, the kind where you're the only one hearing both sides. You respond to a quest, a piece of dialogue, a level design, by what you choose to ignore, what you obsess over, how you play, and this is the dialogue that might be valuable for others to hear. But if you don't capture any of that, if you don't express it in some way, it fades. It becomes that half-formed thought you had at 2 AM after beating something in like Slay the Princess or Armored Core 6, where you just sat there and felt something profound, but couldn't put it in words. That's what having a YouTube channel or a blog help you with. Even if it's a small one, even if it's a personal, private, nobody watches this except my cat one. It gives you a reason to finish this thought. It gives you a place to respond. And once you start doing that, something magical happens. You realize that the game was never just a game. It was a spark of a bigger idea. You start noticing patterns across different titles. You start forming opinions you didn't know you had. You go from that boss was hard to this fight represents a deeper mechanic. Something perhaps that ties into a deeper story or a theme of this game. You evolve. You're not just playing anymore, you're participating in larger culture of games. And when someone else watches your video and goes, damn, I never thought about it that way, that is when conversation goes full circle. That's when your perspective makes someone else look at the same game with new eyes. And if that's not worth putting out into this world, I don't know what is. Here's the thing, YouTube full of people doing 50-minute deep dives, theory crafting, super deep analyses, and that's awesome. That kind of content has its place, but it also creates this illusion that you need to be that sharp, that polished academic just to be heard. And you don't. You don't need a fancy mic, it's not necessary to spend thousands of hours in every From Software title. There is literally no one who is able to quote game design theory or break down narrative pacing like a professor. It's enough if you just care about this topic. Seriously, passion beats polish every time. Nobody will be mad if you don't share something groundbreaking in every video. Just share something honest, a thought, a feeling, a moment that stuck with you. Why a certain character felt real, why that one level made you feel tense and claustrophobic, why you kept thinking about the game days after you stopped playing. And guess what? That stuff really resonates. Because most of us gamers aren't looking for perfection, we're looking for someone to connect with. We're looking for someone real, genuine, who's just as messy and unsure and passionate as we are. Someone who isn't standing on the stage talking to us like Corpus do, but just sitting beside and says, hey, this meant something to me. Does it mean something to you too? No one can know everything, you just have to notice something. And if you allow yourself to think creatively, you will see something that is unique only to you. And here's the twist, the more you talk about games, the more you do become an expert. Your own kind of expert. Not because you studied a textbook, but because you gave your thoughts space to grow. Because you started asking better questions, because you started seeing more. And it's okay to be afraid, but sometimes you need to speak up before you think you're ready. because no one ever feels ready. But once you start, you're already ahead of 99% of people who never do. Most of us grew up with games being the safe personal thing, something you retreat into when life feels too loud, something that carried you through breakups, burnout, school stress, family drama, and in that space games became more than just entertainment, they became shelters. And when something gives you that much for that long, eventually you start to feel like maybe you owe it something, not in a guilty way, not like a debt, just this quiet human urge to give back. And starting a YouTube channel or a blog or anything, even a tiny one, is one of the simplest, most honest ways to do that. You'd be surprised how much that matters. There are people out there who've never heard anyone talk about their favorite game. There are developers out there who made a cool game but nobody's talking about it. There are people who think they're weird for crying at that specific cutscene. There are people who loved the game but couldn't explain why. And you, my dear viewer, can help them. When someone leaves a comment saying I thought I was the only one, or this made me reinstall the game, or even just thanks I needed this, man, that really feels like you touched someone's life, even if a little. You did something of importance to someone you perhaps will never see, but your thoughts connected there for a second, and at least for me, it matters a lot. It's like suddenly all those hours you spent gaming weren't just for you, they were building something, a perspective, a sensitivity, a way of seeing games that only you have because only you lived your life. You're not just taking from the medium anymore, you're nourishing it. You're adding to the ecosystem, even if it's just a drop. Something weird happens when you make a video about a game. You don't just play it, you almost switch into third-person mode in real life and see yourself play it. You notice things you would have overlooked before. You ask questions where before you would have just consumed the media. Why did that moment hit so hard? Why did I take that route instead of another one? Why did that boss feel satisfying and not just difficult? It's like your brain flips into different gear. You're not just reacting anymore, you're reflecting. And the more you do that, the more you realize that every game is full of choices. Intentional ones, mechanical, narrative, aesthetic. You will see design where you used to see just some coincidence. Even in games you didn't like, you start asking why they didn't click. What could have been done differently? Perhaps there were parts that almost worked if they were just done a bit differently. And suddenly, even the bad games become interesting. You go from just playing a game to understanding it. Not like some critic in IGN, but in your own way. Like the person who actually gives a damn. Like someone who wants to know why a game made them feel something instead of just letting that feeling disappear. And here's the thing, once you start seeing games this way, it doesn't stop. It becomes an instinct. And it makes every game better. Because now you're not just in it for the dopamine hit or the content grind. You're in it to witness how these worlds are built, how they work. It's like you put a new pair of glasses and suddenly everything's a little clearer. The good stuff becomes deeper, the mediocre stuff becomes educational, and once in a while you find something that hits so hard you have to talk about it. And this time, you can. Because now you've trained that voice, you've sharpened that lens. And trust me, that's really addictive in the best way. And most important thing is you don't need permission to speak about the things you love, you just need a place to do it. A YouTube channel isn't about just clout or clicks, it's home for your thoughts. A space you carve out in this massive noisy internet to say this is what games mean to me. And the moment you do, something shifts. The games don't just pass through you anymore, they leave something behind. And you leave something behind too. So yeah, make that channel, say what you feel. Press record, not for them, not for the algorithm, but for yourself.